Welcome to Two Mics. My name is Kelvin Moretti. Today I'm joined by Tito and Kabingu. We'll be discussing a few things about some books that we are reading that are very, very interesting. We hope that you are going to stay with us till the end. Karibuni sana. What are you reading right now, Tito?
I think I'm going to answer on what I intend to finish fast, because I think I'm dabbling in so many things. I never have a systematic thing. So there's this small book I'm reading, The Richest Man in Babylon. That book, everybody needs to read that book. Like, there's a reason why that book has sold over 2 million copies.
I think like 2 million is very small.
Yeah, it's way more than that.
I think it's in the hundreds of millions, if I'm not wrong.
Probably. I think it's just that cover that they're saying over 2 million in print, but the book is very old. So
Yeah.
I guess
It's a big number. Okay, 200 million is a bit of an exaggeration. I feel like, but
Stop speculating. Just know the book has sold.
it's a
well.
bestseller.
Yeah, it's a bestseller. So it's a small book, around 140 pages. Small pages. But that book, so it's about money. Basically how to manage your money, how to grow your money. It's basically about financial matters. But the way that book has been written and the amount of insight in that book.
In those few pages, the 140 pages.
Yes. I just wish I read that book like 5 years ago.
What is one big lesson you've learned so far?
So interestingly, it's not like something. They're not like new things, but it's in the way he's bringing them out. So how the book is written, the setup is in those old times, Babylon, the days of Babylon, those BC days. And the author has, the way he's presented it, he's presenting parables. So he gives parable that in Babylon, the richest city in those old days, there was one rich wise man called Akkad. So his friends come to him, and they want, they're coming for advice on how to make money, because when they were young, they were both at the same level financially, but now that when they are middle-aged men, and he has become the richest man in Babylon, so they just want to understand how he became this rich man. Yeah, so I think the first story. I think that's the first story, and then it goes on with several parables. There's one about the money lender. So I wouldn't say there's one
big lesson.
Lesson. There's just multiple lessons about how saving a portion of everything you earn, making that money earn for you. These are things we've had.
Yeah.
But
how they're presented.
Yes, but how they're presented, they hit home in a different way, because that aspect of saving, he talks about it as paying yourself. Like your employer pays you, but then how much do you pay yourself? Because of course you have the bills, you have all those things you spend money on.
Yeah.
So when everything comes in and goes out, you're left with nothing, and you become poor over time.
Yeah.
So how much are you paying yourself? So he has this 5 golden rules of money. And the first rule is that money always keep at least a 10th of all that you earn. Set it aside.
Yeah.
And then that 10th, invest it in good investments. Invest it in
good investments, like what?
So in good investments, he goes on to explain. So a good investment is something, one, where your principal will be protected. So it's not a gamble. So you're not investing in something where your capital is at risk.
Like shares.
Yeah, like shares. Or if you invest in shares where your capital is at risk, you have sought advice from the professionals, and you know how to hedge your risk.
Yeah.
like in the shares. Yeah, so
The second?
they're actually interconnected. The first one is that keep a tenth. The second one is make your money work for you.
What do you mean by make your money work for you?
Like not investing your money.
Also that you're not
Put
just...
your money where it will come back to you.
Okay. But if you put it in a bank and you go to the ATM, the money will come back to you. Anyway, continue. I'm just...
Anyway,
okay.
And then the third one, okay, I'm trying to remember them, but the third one goes on something like money flies away from people that seek to multiply it to get impossible returns. So like that's how people get scammed.
Because you're overshooting.
Yeah,
Okay.
you're overshooting. Like you are getting greedy. You want to 100x your money in like a week or 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And that's how. So he says that it's almost like a rule that money flies away from people that try to invest in such a way.
So the Richest Man in Babylon essentially is an investment book, and financial sanity. And you see, the most interesting thing actually that I think you've pointed out is the fact that a lot of times I think when you get a good salary, you get comfortable. Someone said your salary is a bribe your boss gives you to hang your dreams, to not pursue your dreams.
Warren Buffett.
Yes, yeah, I think he's a wise man because paradoxically he has employees. But anyway, so I think, and it's something I've come to appreciate also, having an extra source of income and diversifying your investment is a very, very brilliant thing. And in fact, we're going to have an episode, an upcoming episode. We're going to engage someone who works in asset management and investment for Sanlam. She's going to advise us on how to, invest. Because at the end of the day, what happens is when one of the reasons why the richest people don't get affected by pandemics, by I would say recessions as the common people are, is because you might find that they've been able to distribute their risks in such a way that, for example, now if you're working, you as a kawaida man, you're working in the hotel industry, and then a recession hits in the hotel industry, you're done for. You're going to get fired. Too bad. But what you see with the very, very hyper rich people, like for example in Uhuru, you find that yes, they have a footing in the hotel industry. So even if Uhuru brings policies that will affect the hotel industry to fight the pandemic, they're in banking. You need banking. They are in food. You need food. They are in insurance. They're in real estate. So essentially, making sure that that your eggs are not in one basket is very, very critical, because the day someone smashes that basket, you find yourself in a very tight position.
Yeah, but you reminded me of something I saw recently. So there are these people who are of a different school of thought that the way to make money, lots of it is to put all your eggs in one basket and then watch that basket.
But now good luck with watching the basket against COVID.
Well, of course, that's why you have to now be a professional. Of course, understand the risks, know what you're getting yourself into, and good luck.
Do you know, before I go to the book I'm reading, do you know there are 4 categories of billionaires, dollar billionaires. There are 4 categories of billionaires. There is a poor billionaire. The poor billionaires are the new tech billionaires who started a company, and then they're still
of Elon Musk.
No. They're still getting funded by
say TikTok guys.
Like say the person when we started TikTok at the beginning, the first billion that you made, that was a poor billionaire, because probably it's not an actual billion, it's a valuation billion in terms of the company has been valued at this, so you're getting a certain round of funding. That kind of a billionaire. They still live in the basement of their mothers, the younger guys who are coming up. And then there is the middle class billionaire. A middle class billionaire is someone like Elon Musk, someone like the owner of Amazon. What's the name? Jeff Bezos. Jeff Bezos is a middle class billionaire because their shares are in one company. Their entire wealth is mostly dependent on one company. If that company fails, they are...
Well, but it's not one company.
No, I'm saying
companies.
technically, when you look at their biggest valuation, their biggest net worth is pegged on one company. So they might have a few billions in others, but they are hyper successful in one company, like Amazon, like Tesla, like Facebook, right? So these are guys who started in tech or companies, but companies are getting established. Well, it's actual billions that they are making, but then slowly it's dependent on one company. And then now we have the upper middle class, right? The upper middle class is someone like Warren Buffett. Someone like Warren Buffett who's completely diversified their wealth. Warren Buffett, it's impossible to destroy Warren Buffett financially because he's in every perceivable industry. He's through Berkshire Hathaway. The same thing with Bill Gates. So you'll find that even if Jeff Bezos becomes the richest man in the world on paper, you'll find that he'll never get to the level of wealth and stability, at least up to now, that someone like Warren Buffett, something like Bill Gates, or hedge fund managers who are managing portfolios that cut across different industries. That's how you stabilize your wealth. And then now we have the super rich that we don't even know their net worth. When you say Jeff Bezos is the richest man in the world, these people, we don't probably even account for them correctly. Because, for example, now Germany has some very, very immensely wealthy people, but they never come out as billionaires because in Germany it's frowned upon to look rich. Culturally, if you're a billionaire, they look at you as greedy, as who taking from the poor. So billionaires in such countries, very old money, money that has been in the families of millennia. And then also now the princes in the Middle East, people have stupid wealth. Someone bought a fake painting for $500 million. You had that scandal. A fake. And it's not a problem because they just call the central bank and they release the money. So those are the four categories of wealth. And so you can see the most stable category of wealth is someone who's been able to diversify their earnings, such that right now you're working in insurance. If you can have a side hustle in agriculture, if you can have a cacao wash, if you can have a food delivery or whatever that you're thinking about. But the thing is, being able to diversify your portfolio can give you very good stability. Yeah. So, Kevin, what are you reading?
Oh, I'm reading a fantasy book called The Stormlight Archive. I don't know if it has any lessons. The reason why I don't want to talk about the book I read before, it's because I've already mentioned it on the podcast. It was called Charter, and it's about, it has a long title, Charter, and controlling, and like finding how to control the voice in your head. That's the whole topic of that book.
Wait, an entire book about how to control the voice in your head?
Yes. It's called Charter. I talked about it and you were here when I was talking about it.
What do you mean by controlling the voice in your head? What's the lesson there, or what do you deduce from it?
So, it's like how you're usually told that you have that inner voice that tells you, is it called intuition? Hiyo kitu inakwambia when you're doing something bad, but it also hinders you from doing things you want. And as much as we usually say it's something, its main job, it's to be like, it's protective. Ni kama ukisimama at the edge of a building, you might feel like utajiambia don't jump even if you have
your
the
gut
feeling.
feeling.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So there's usually that voice. So if you're lying to someone, there's usually that voice that's telling, no, you're doing a bad thing. But normally the voice, as much, I know maybe as a Christian you might be told that's your soul, that's what inakufanya usilie. But scientifically it's more of like it's a voice or a brain's way of self-preservation. So at times, yes, most of the times it gives you good advice if there's such a thing as good advice, and it prevents you from harming yourself. But other times it also prevents you from like taking risks. For instance, I remember you saying having like trouble like deciding to maybe if you take a new venture, maybe if it's business, maybe your mind is telling you when you're putting your money here, then you're going to lose all that money. So at times you see it prevents you from like
taking risks.
Risks that, as you said, successful people usually have. So it's that the whole book is about you knowing how to utilize that voice, or like when we talk about judo usually use your enemies' momentum and strength against them. So it's like using that so that you can know how to tame it, know how to use it when it's necessary, and know how to like to spot when it's trying to prevent you from taking risks. Yeah.
What? How has it helped you? How are you taking more risks now? Are you venturing into business? Have you started working out? Like, because you need. Just messing. Uh-huh.
No, it's true. Actually, personally, for me, I need it a lot because I usually have that. My mind, that voice in my head is usually a lot, and it usually prevents me from achieving things or attaining things I want in my life. So even if it's like you said, the gym, it's like I'll think about, okay, I need to go to the gym. That's the part of my mind that's saying, okay, you're not eating healthy. You need to start eating healthy. You need to start to go to the gym. But then there's that voice of, but you're comfortable not going to the gym. Yeah, you don't need to do it every day. Mm-hmm. Maybe it comes in as like a compromise. Maybe don't eat breakfast and lunch, just eat supper, and you don't need to go to the gym. So yeah, it's not usually like something that tells you like the direct opposite of what you need to do. It usually gives you compromises. It's just knowing how to spot those things and stop doing them. So okay, yes, to me that's something that's really helped me, and it's learning how to just not fighting anything. If I feel it's not harmful, not fighting it and just saying, okay, I'll just do it. And most of the time, what I've noticed is at the end, I'm grateful for taking that step. If it's at work, if there's something your boss or coworker is saying during a meeting you don't agree, sometimes you feel like, I don't want to put myself out there. Watu waone, ule ndo ule msenozi anakuanga always na
makelele na kujifanya hapa na just tough.
Yeah, so I don't know if it's nika ule mtu winu wa mkono bell ya lunch kiring. So that's how you feel. But you need to do it.
Yeah.
And what you notice is people start seeing, like you said, most people don't have that nini. They usually try to avoid conflict, or I don't know if it's conflict, but avoid doing things that make them uncomfortable.
Do you know a good approach might be aiming low. One of, I think, our biggest undoing as human beings is sometimes you might aim higher, and when we're in high school, you're told, aim high, shoot to the moon. I'm like, no, shoot to third floor. Like, shoot to third floor, and when you achieve that third floor, your brain tells you, congratulations, you've made some progress. And then now when you are at third floor, shoot to the ceiling of the 8th floor building, and then slowly increment that, and you find that you are able to achieve much more than you would if you were to aim too high. Because essentially what happens is, if you're aiming too high, is that chances are you might not get there.
Not might, you won't.
Yes. In fact, yes. I'm saying some people are lucky, because, and that's what I'm saying. It's pure luck that you might aim very high and you get there, but it's a very minute, miniature group of people. Yeah. So the rest of us,
and still, like you're saying, I don't remember that it has a name that you're saying, but it's I probably, like you said, how we are taught in school, aim for the stars, so you can, if you fail, you fall on the moon. I think that's bad advice. It's everyone should aim to do, like, it's achievable, or compare yourself to what you were yesterday.
Yeah.
what I noticed also is there's that correlation of, especially why we don't do a lot in our lives, is there's correlation of perfectionism. I don't know if it's for everyone. Perfectionism usually brings a lot of procrastination because for you to do something,
you want something that's
to
perfect. Yeah.
So you never try to do it. Back to maybe the gym, you want gains, you want results immediately.
I want them. But now imagine if you had to say, on the gym issue, I am going to go to the gym and just hit the treadmill for 20 minutes.
Yes.
Just that.
Yes.
Or 10 minutes.
Yes.
You do that. And okay, not to brag, our listeners, I go to the gym. But anyway, what I noticed in my journey in the gym, and my friends are always making fun of me unaenanga gym kwani unaenanga kukaa huko chini kuosha, because apparently they can't see the gains. But one thing I've learned to build my consistency was I started very small, and I sustained the smallness. To me, the mere fact that I am in the gym is an achievement. Like that mere fact that I'm able to consistently go to the gym. So I built that consistency. I make sure that I go 3 times a week, even if I'm going to do a bench press 10 kgs or 5 kgs. Build that consistency, reward my brain and tell it, you see, Kevin, that's a good thing. Well, you have bragging right when you're talking to people. I'm one of those guys who go to the gym, you know. And then over time now, tell yourself, let me add 10 kgs to these 5 kgs I'm doing. And then you do that over time. Slowly. Everyone is doing 60. Your weight, mtu anainua chuma like equivalent to your weight, and you build that over time. You know, aiming low. Most of the people who come to the gym, and let me tell you, naambianga wase gym, once I see someone for the first time is taking selfies on the mirrors and naambia, give this person 2 weeks, he will not be here again. And 90% of the time I'm usually right, because this person's motivation is skewed, right? The aim is to show that I have muscles, but muscles take months. You can take a full year before you get any substantive results. So it's very, very critical that you build your capacity over time slowly.
Yeah. And I remember the name. It's called the 70% rule.
Oh, yeah.
So it's, you aim for 70%. If it's good enough, just present it. If it's at work, if you've done it to the point that it's good enough, present it. And one thing I saw, the research was showing that a lot of people who strive for perfectionism, especially at work, they usually present their jobs late, and it affects their career negatively. But the guy who usually does like 70% and I present 70%, yes, he'll have mistakes, but the main things he learns to do is to get his work out in time. And he also, by doing a larger volume of work, he gains the experience of knowing, like, it's like you're making enough mistakes that they stop being mistakes. You're used to them. The ulem to ni project moja a month, mistakes zake ni itakuwa harder to learn than someone who does a volume of work. Yeah.
And essentially it makes sense, right? Because if you're continuously, if by the time you're finishing one task, I've done 4, 70% or even 60, from a business point of view, that is a good thing. Of course, there's a bit of undoing here and there, but what I've come to learn in the corporate world is it's an issue of visibility. You might be the best person, but if you're not visible, if no one can see you. I know one of our friends, does he listen to the podcast? I don't know, maybe he might listen to this one, but one of my very, very good friends, he's a brilliant guy. He's grown in leaps and bounds in his career because of being visible. He might not be saying the most sensible things, but in the meeting, he has to say something, even if that cup is dirty, you know, like, or thank you for coming to the meeting, guys. Let's hear what Kabingo has to say. He doesn't have to say anything substantive, but people see him. Sometimes he will talk about a lot of nonsense, but it is visible nonsense. So me and my timidity there, sitting back and thinking,
everyone is
I don't have something to say.
Yeah.
I'll wait for when I have like clear thought structures and I've thought it out completely for me to be able to speak. Huyu msee wanacheka na madirectors huko. You get? And that is how you grow. So if you're going to focus on being perfect, or you're going to focus on waiting to the day that I am able to articulate myself. I have a friend. He's called, I will not say the name. He's a very good friend of mine. He's a very analytical guy, but he's not able to articulate himself because he's a perfectionist. If he makes a decision, trust me, it will be the best. Like, he will have considered, like, we went to buy a bag, Dendry. So you were given like 4 bags. He's like, so me, I'm like, yeah, this bag is nice. Period. It's a legit, beautiful looking bag. And then he's just looking at it. The salesperson is like, okay, make a decision, damn it. And he's like, so I'm going with this other one. Because if you look at the straps, they go all the way around. So the weight is distributed. Hii yenye umechukua, hapo kwa handle itatoka ya kwanza. I'm like, that makes a lot of sense. Like, how did you think of, like, he's a very analytical person. But by the time he's making that analysis, nimenunua bags kane, say our KPIs was buying bags. I've bought like 3. My bosses have seen I've bought the 3 bags. Pigiwa makofi. His is the most efficient solution. But from a business point of view, remember, we are dealing with humans. Humans care about people who are visible, people who are on your face. So what happens then? You end up losing out. So I think it's very important to be analytical, but not all the way. Allow yourself, because even there are lessons to be learned from the mistakes that you make. So mistakes are not the worst things. It's ideally they shouldn't be there, but how do we know how not to make a bulb? For example, it's by making it with paper and realizing, no, that's not optimal. It's by using a strand of hair, realizing it's not optimal. So if you're going to wait until the day that we've mastered it's a tungsten filament that works before you launch it to the market, we won't. That's not my point. That's not the most optimal way. Learn to, and it's something also I'm teaching myself too.
Yeah. And like you asked earlier, one thing maybe I've learned is there's something called the spotlight effect. And I think I told you, Tito, at one point, the spotlight effect is that effect of everyone usually feels like the spotlight is on them. You feel like you're the main character of a story called life, and everyone is looking at you. But in real sense, everyone feels like that. So stop thinking too much about, okay, something, I should have said this, I'm so embarrassed I said that, I should have said this other thing. Leo, maybe I had my flight down all day, and then all those people looked at me and they were laughing at me. But in real sense, maybe even if that person saw you, they saw maybe for 2 seconds, they may smile or laugh. But the moment they take 2 steps and continue walking, their mind is somewhere else. They're back to their problems because everyone is in their own spotlight. So I think I got relief after thinking in that way.
And I think it's Winston Churchill who said that when you are 20, you think the world is thinking about you. When you're 40, you realize people don't really care about what you're thinking. When you're 60, you realize that this entire time nobody cared about. And I think, to me, that's one of the biggest lessons I'm learning right now. Not to over expose myself to the thinking that people care so much about what I think. First of all, it's proud. Who do you think you are to think that people are thinking about you? Huyu ni mama kona watoto wanne. Like, so you won't tell me, so he will take a break from thinking about Jerry is going to eat today evening to think about you, the smudge on your nose. Like, get over yourself. And that's the only way you can be able to even build confidence. And it's something I'm trying to teach myself. Yeah. So now, for me, the book I'm reading right now is 12 Rules for Life.
Very good.
Very, very, very wonderful book.
Well done.
Oh my goodness, guys, I cannot. I don't even think that I
think just before you continue, our dear listeners, if you have not read this book or heard about it, if you're hearing about it for the first time, please stop whatever you're doing. Stop whatever you're doing right now. You can even pause this.
Pause this podcast.
Let me just read for you some of the comments behind the book. Basically, the feedback people gave. The first one is, everyone must read 12 Rules for Life and then pass it on to a friend. And I think Kevin only has one copy.
Yes.
He can't pass it on to you. So just buy and pass on to a friend.
Yeah.
Another one here says, A Recipe for Salvation.
Yeah. And actually, let me tell you, can I tell you something about this book? I think I've gone to rule number 5 or 6, I think. Rule number, let me check. I think I've gone up to rule number 4. And I can tell you,
what does it say?
It's already changed my life.
What does the rule say?
Rule number 4 says, compare yourself to who you are yesterday, not who someone else is today. There's something I believe we live in a world where we're exposed to so much media, and I honestly feel, before I even go to the media issue, I feel like talking about one rule is unfair to the entire ethos. What is the meaning of ethos? To the entire structure of the book, to the entire book, because the book, I think, has a very strong message about taking personal responsibility and being bold. Anyway, so this is what I'll say, Tito. We live in a world where being nice is celebrated and being upfront and aggressive is frowned upon. There is no virtue in being nice. Today in my status, I posted that when someone calls you, you are a really nice guy, it's actually kind of an insult when you think about it. Because, in the sense that, what does that even mean? There is no virtue in being nice. There is no virtue. The virtue is in having the capacity to be not nice, but choosing to be nice. It's like, for example, when we talk about corruption, as we're discussing earlier, people are not corrupt because they are not corrupt. Most of these people pointing at the government is because they've not had the opportunity to be corrupt. The virtuous person is the person who had the opportunity to be corrupt and they chose not to be corrupt. That is the virtuous person. And it's the same thing about this niceness issue. Like, make people know that you have the capacity to be not nice.
So, actually, what he also talks about these nice people, you'll find that someone who is overly nice, generally nice, those are some of the most resentful people.
Yes.
Because that aggression and so let's say, for instance, I'm a nice person and then you wrong me. And then I don't come up to you and tell you, hey, by the way, Moretti, I'm not happy that you did that. Don't do that again. I will not take that again. So the moment I don't get to tell you that anger does not go away. It only transforms into resentment.
Yes.
And bitterness.
Yes.
And that is something far, far worse than
the physical confrontation.
Yes.
You see, Tito, I'll tell you something that also I think I've come to learn, is that one of the biggest killers of relationships, I don't have a lot of experience with relationships, I'll always insist.
From what you've read.
But no, even from even friends, is that the moment we do not have boundaries for what is right or what is wrong, for what is acceptable and what is not, is a recipe for resentment. And tyranny. In this sense, that today, Tito, if I know that Tito is uncomfortable, usually want to have his me time in his house at 8 and nakaa hapo hadi 9, Tito anashindwa kuniambia I'll come today, I'll come tomorrow, natoka uko 9, that is building up as resentment towards me, and that's suboptimal. The most optimal thing is articulate your issue, have that friction, set that boundary, And that is how your relationship will thrive, because I will know that by 8 I should be out of this house. The alternative is me sitting there like an idiot, Tito wanting to kill me and punch me, but he cannot do it because he's a nice guy. What is that doing to a relationship? What is that doing to Tito as a person? And that is why it's essentially very, very critical. And even at work I've come to, it's something I noticed. I remember back in the days when I was, after high school, and I was working for Equity Bank. Back then when I was working for Equity Bank, there is something called manning the ATM. So manning the ATM is essentially when we have a public holiday or weekends, there is a member of staff who's assigned to sit at the ATM to assist the elderly or people might not be able to use the ATM, just to support them. So all the public holidays.
That sounds so much like Equity.
Or they have everyone. So all the public holidays, all the Christmases, all the ninis, hizo public holidays, idufit, hizo vitu zote, ni mimi and another pre-university like me who are being given. But there was another pre-university, I remember, he's called Keith. He's a very nice guy. Keith alisema sitaki, nifuteni kama mnataka kunifuta, I am not coming for Christmas. Every year in, year out, mimi mnaniekanga hapo. And they respected that. He set a boundary. And till this day, I respect that. I have another colleague who's called, I won't say his name. He was in the podcast, Daryl. He was in the podcast, so it's fine. One of the things I respect the most about him, people don't mess with him, with him at work. Because if he does not want to do something, he won't do it. If he thinks it's unfair to him, he will articulate, even if he's talking to the MD. He goes to the MD and tells him, I don't think that is fair, I'm not going to do it. They have a very respectful relationship. The first time I saw it, I was like, how do you do that?
You mean someone can do that?
You mean what? and I thought, this guy is going to get fired. He didn't get fired. Because what he was doing, he was setting a boundary of respect and having an honest and true relationship with this person. And I can't think of a more beautiful thing to have than to have a respectful relationship with your employer, to have a respectful relationship with your colleagues and your friends. Respect is the basis of it. And that is something I'm trying to teach myself. That it does not hurt to articulate your concerns. Don't sit on it because you are creating bile inside yourself and you're creating resentment. Don't play nice.
It's something he also talks about. Let me spoil it for you. Something he also talks about in this rule: tell the truth, or at least don't lie. Where he says, say something that your inner conscience will not dispute. If you feel deep within you that you've been treated unfairly, say it.
So essentially articulating your truth. There's another thing you usually say, one of the roots, I think, it's one I wanted to confirm very quickly. Don't let your children do anything that will make you dislike them. Whenever I go to a mall or to a supermarket, or I'm walking and I'm seeing a very unruly child, I just judge the parents. Recently I went to Optica and this child is shouting, jumping, going to touch the laptop. Yeah, Julie, stop. I'm telling you, stop. Don't negotiate with the terrorist. Go smack the bejesus out of the kid. That is how they will learn to behave in public. Because a lot of parents, what is happening is that they have this niceness they are trying to cultivate and create very, very flimsy children. And what we end up having is chaos when they grow up. Children who are not sociable. Yes, who are not sociable. Children who can't take simple pressures of life. In fact, one of the things he talks about is do not treat your children better than the world would treat them.
Yep. The world is a cruel place.
The world is a cruel place. Do not Create an environment that makes, because you won't be there forever for your children.
Don't raise safe children.
Yes.
Raise competent children.
Exactly. Because at the end of the day, if you're raising a safe child, it means you're expending your own energy to safeguard the child. What about now when you won't be there to safeguard the child? You need to raise children who can fight for themselves. In fact, one of the beautiful things about competence and taking risks as opposed to being safe is that you get to enjoy the world. If you are to be held up in your cocoon of safety, you don't know what is out there in the world. There is no adventure inside the house. The adventure is going to the mountains where a lion can come out of the bushes. The adventure is going on a road trip where your car can roll and kill you. The adventure sorry? Yeah, exactly. The adventure is seeing that beautiful lady who's quote unquote way out of your league. And I'm saying quote unquote because no one is out of your league. Is out of your league, and putting yourself out there and talking to that girl. That is where the adventure and living of life is. Life is essentially risks and trade-offs. So if you're going to raise your child in a manner that you're always protecting them and giving them whatever they want, it means even their fortitude and their readiness for a very extremely cruel life isn't there.
And eventually their usefulness in society.
Exactly. And no one wants a useless person.
And ultimately the demise of civilization.
you see, there's something. Let me remember something that he says. It's making sure that you're acting also in the you're not thinking selfishly, taking, but also compromises in society, where you are also giving, because we are living in an intertwined world where you can't afford to think about yourself. These children, when you unaona hapa, when you nasema they will be useless people in the future because of how they're being raised selfishly, is because in the world, at some point, Kabingu, you find that I need to borrow your Xbox. I need to borrow your car. How do we have that trade-off? Yeah.
Yeah. So it's essentially what that famous ancient quote of tough times make tough people. Tough people make good times. Good times make, what is it? Nimekwaka ule, that guy ule alishindwa na ile quote. Yeah, the fish.
Give a man a fish.
Yeah.
No.
But essentially, it's, yeah, exactly.
Come on, no, that can't be right. I remember one of our teachers to go high school, and so to go assemblies, like some of you are throwing. So you wanted to say avocado, and in Kimeru avocado is naitwa makondofia. So he's on the assembly in Meru, very deeply Meru. So he's like, some of you are throwing pills of so he'll talk at he knows it starts with a A. He does not know if it's a condofia or or avocado. So he's like okay, sorry. So essentially, I think as we conclude today's episode, it was a semi-book club. But I think this Jordan Peterson book is one of the most profound, because I think it has actually aspects of everything that we've discussed, right? You know, how you're managing your finances in such a way you're treating yourself like someone you care for. That is one of the rules, for example. You know, how you sometimes you can be selfish. So when you're investing in your future, when you're saving, is essentially treating yourself like someone that you care for. You know, if you have a child, you want to invest in their future, you want to save, but sometimes we don't do that to ourselves. Yeah. And also the book, you said your lesson was?
It's essentially just in summary, like how we usually told, the biggest enemy of you is you. So it's looking at that mirror and fighting yourself every day so that you can attain or dreams or whatever you want to do in your life.
Yeah. So again, responsibility, you know, taking charge and taking responsibility. Yeah. Anyway, thank you so much for joining us. We had a very great time. We hope that you had a great time also. Till next time, bye.